Tough news on the Sixers front one day before media day. Sixers guard Jared McCain, according to ESPN's Tim Bontemps, suffers a UCL tear in his shooting hand, his right thumb, during a workout. And the Sixers have confirmed this, we are now awaiting to find out what's next for the second-year guard. Welcome to our show here, presented by Rothman Orthopedics and Ford, coming to you live from the Xfinity Lounge. Kyle, so much excitement going into the start of the season where Jared McCain's name has come up a ton, factoring into what things will look like as far as the four-guard rotation, assuming Quentin Grimes is back. I'm sure we'll get to him a little bit later, but this is a bummer heading into the official start of the Sixers season.
It's a huge bummer, and first you have to start with Jared himself, right? We'll get to the implications for the team, the rotation, and all the guys on the roster with him. But Jared McCain is coming off of a 6-month surgery, recovery, rehab timeline. He was finally getting back up to speed. We've seen videos of him saying, hey, I just met with my doctor. I'm all clear. I'm good to go. He's back out on the floor. We've seen him in those Zapruder film type clips, scrimmaging with Joel Embiid and Maxey and all these guys in the Sixers practice facility. And to have the start of his season, the clean slate that you have going into the year ripped away from him is really cruel, right? So beyond the physical component of it, right? Shooting hand thumb is pretty damn important. You think first, man, this is a tough setback for him to have to go through. And you can't let that spiral, right? You have to make sure that you keep him in the boat, so to speak. Jared certainly does a great job and talks a lot about the mental side of the game, and he does meditation. He does lots of exercises to just keep himself centered at all times. He's going to need that right now, right? Because you go up the ramp of, and I hate to use the word ramp, to get back to the season. And right when you're on the precipice of showing people what you're about again, you suffer this kind of setback. So very bummed for him personally. Hopefully it's on the normal scale of things from what we heard, 6 to 8 week timetable if he's going to get surgery in the days ahead.
Yeah. And this is from, we're doing some research when this came out. This is from In Street Clothes. He was writing specifically about the Anthony Simons injury from 2 years ago, but he says that surgery has a very high success rate and that studies show that surgery rarely results in a dip in performance. He then goes on to say the average number of missed games for in-season UCL repairs in the NBA is roughly 22 weeks, with the average number of days being just over 53, which is 7.5, right in that 6 to 8 week timeline that you were mentioning. So hopefully this is a relatively short-term problem. Hopefully by the end of November, this is in the rearview mirror, both with Jared back on the court and showing no ill signs of it. But it is, it's two things. One, there's the mental component for Jared. There's, quite frankly, the mental component from the fans who had to go through a really tough year last year and were really excited to watch him play basketball. But there's also, this is the portion of the year where you can put in a lot of work and you can get, not only your own personal skill development moving forward, but also your fit with your teammates, with the rotations, with building the kind of chemistry that you need throughout the course of the season. It is a huge, huge bummer. Again, hopefully short term, but still a bummer nonetheless.
And this comes after the Sixers handled things the way that they did in the summer with the Summer League team. While he traveled to Las Vegas, he was part of some practices, he was able to do things. They were very careful to make sure that he continued to rehab the knee to get ready for this moment, the start of media day, followed by training camp practices and then preseason, and that is now taken away. So when you talk about the mental side that Colin Derrick has mentioned, he does seem like the right type of guy, though, that can be able to handle something like this, especially with the one good thing that may come out of this, if surgery happens or just simple rehab, however they decide to go about it collectively, it's early in the season where he still has so much of a runway. If things are done the right way, the rehab does go right, where he's able to get back out there, potentially, as the Anthony Simons example has been laid out by Derek and Kyle, that maybe he's back somewhere by late November, early December, and there's still a lot of basketball left to be played for the Philadelphia 76ers. We could still stamp his place within the roster, within the rotation, and still become a big part of whatever they're doing at that time of the season where that comes into play. Now, with that, though, Kyle, when the news did come down, we also got some news about Quentin Grimes, as Gina Mizell from the Inquirer.com put it out there, that from what she was hearing, at least reportedly,
From Grimes' agent directly.
from Grimes' agent directly, a 4-year, $39 million offer was put on the table by the Philadelphia 76ers. And then Grimes still believes he's worth that 20 to 25 million annually range there. So because of the stalemate that's been going on between player and team, all the way back to the restricted free agency getting started at the end of June, early July, when free agency got underway, we are well past free agency being a big thing. He's still out there. Now with this news with McCain, as that 4-guard rotation was important, we just thought that Grimes would be back anyway, and they would fight 4 minutes, and the 4-guard rotation would be pretty solid to begin training camp and the regular season. Do you think this might change how all of that plays out with the Grimes side of things?
I don't think it should. And I think in most instances, Daryl Morey would say, this is a very temporary problem, and I'm not going to change my negotiating stance based on a 6-week injury that might knock out like 2 or 3 weeks of the season for one player. The only caveat I would make with that is we've talked a lot about the pressure that Daryl Morey and Nick Nurse are under, right? And so do you want to risk an elongated, even more elongated than it has been, problem with Quentin Grimes here going into the season when you already know one of those coveted guards is going to miss some time? On the other hand, I actually think there's somebody who's even more impacted by this and potentially in a positive way. I think VJ Edgecombe is a guy who might get opportunities that either wouldn't have been there or wouldn't have been as plentiful if McCain was in the lineup. And I think specifically one of the most interesting things that we tracked in admittedly 2 summer league games, but also throughout the offseason is how much time on ball will VJ Edgecombe get, right? And if he's coming off of the bench with a Jared McCain, at best, it's probably a timeshare. And in many instances, it might have been Jared runs the point as kind of the backup to Maxey, and Edgecombe plays in that off guard, off ball role. Well, now that McCain is going to miss some time, you could make a pretty clear and coherent case that right away, when VJ Edgecombe is in the game and Tyrese Maxey is not, he should have the ball in his hands. He should get opportunities to lead and run the offense. We saw in Summer League, we saw at Baylor, we saw in high school, he's got good playmaking chops. He's a good downhill player with the ball in his hands. Admittedly needs to tighten up some finishing stuff. But what you don't want to do with VJ is put him in a box. And so because you've lost a guy who now would have been fighting for those on-ball reps and will be fighting for those over time, now is a great time to try to get those to VJ early, see what he has. And even if he flounders a little bit, even if he struggles with that sort of responsibility, that's a baseline that you set and say, all right, we got that early. Maybe we don't go back to it for a while, but it's a useful thing as they try to figure out where all the pieces fit together.
Yeah, and that's an interesting point when it comes into, Grimes. And he's, Grimes right now is evaluating whether or not he would, what's the risk reward of coming back on a 1-year deal, whether that's on a qualifying offer, on a balloon payment. On the one hand, now he knows he will get 4 weeks of runway to get more playing time than maybe he was expecting. On the other hand, if this means that VJ Edgecombe is going to come in and have a spot in the rotation right from day one, well, then maybe when Jared McCain comes back in, a month into the season, 6 weeks into a season, and VJ is more established than he otherwise would have been, that might end up hurting Quinton a little bit because now you've got 2 young kids that you're prioritizing developing. So there's a little bit of an internal calculus that Quentin Grimes has to make as he pursues trying to be a high-dollar free agent next summer. And I think this could, like I said, it has impacts on both sides of that equation.
All right, UCL tear for Jared McCain in his right thumb, according to Tim Bontemps. The Sixers confirmed it during a workout on Thursday. Stay with PHLY Sixers for more of this developing story as it continues to go on. And make sure you like and subscribe to the show to follow up on more information about the Sixers, Jared McCain, as we get ready to step into Media Day and the start of the official calendar for the Philadelphia 76ers. Media Day, training camp, preseason games, and certainly regular season games. Hang out with us at PHLY_Sixers to follow our team account. Kyle Newbeck, at Kyle Newbeck on Twitter, at Derek Bodner NBA as well, and at _Devon Givens to follow more information about Jared McCain, Quentin Grimes, the Philadelphia 76ers, and Media Day. Make sure you stick with us for all the news with the Philadelphia 76ers right here on PHLY Sixers.